Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, another episode of our CBSI Talking Business series as we had a chance to meet and learn from leaders in the field of digital marketing, direct marketing, customer service, banking, insurance, and business education. And all to highlight the great work of our team at CBSI, we provide insurance-based benefits to the payments and credit card industry. And we're very glad to have back with us today Xena Ugrinsky, who is now the Chief Transformation Officer of Pilot Wave Holdings, a new venture that she co-founded. We're going to talk a little bit about what the European Union just announced this week. Xena, good to talk with you. How are you today?
I'm great, Ken. How are you?
Very good. Well, you're an expert in artificial intelligence, and we've done a couple of talks before, and the European Union just announced this week that they are going to have new regulations on the use of artificial intelligence within their set of member countries, and it's the first regulation of its type. And what we find in the United States is California and other states tend to follow very closely what the European Union does. What was your thought about this announcement of the European Union on artificial intelligence?
So first of all, it's an incredibly important announcement. It follows on the heels 3 years later of GDPR, so generally the privacy regulations that came out of Europe. And as you mentioned, California has already released their version of something similar. But the importance here is that it's a natural follow-on to GDPR. So as GDPR was considering consumer privacy and the ethics of handling data pertaining to consumers, this takes that concept one step further. So when you think about privacy and AI, what we're doing is we are processing tremendous volumes of data and letting the machines learn, or the algorithms learn, from the data itself. So similar to GDPR and privacy, it is processing potentially private information. So GDPR kind of takes care of that side of it, but by extension, it also has implications regarding bias as it relates to how it's being used in terms of surveillance. It also, for the commercial markets, any kind of limitation on what you can do with data as it relates to AI has an immediate impact on what these organizations can do and the kinds of products that they can develop using data. So, for example, this will have another distinct implication on programmatic advertising, for example. And then to go even a step further, when you think about things like the self-driving car, it has distinct safety implications.
Sure.
So when we do not have a human who is monitoring these things ongoing to ensure that they're making the right decisions, then we have potential unintended consequences. I mean, we just had another Tesla incident. Now, it's still unclear whether that was human error or whether it was the programmatic element of the car. But, you know, we're going to see more and more of those sorts of questions come up. So it's really important to get out ahead of these things before they occur. So, you know, let's talk about why this is hard, right? First of all, organizations who are building data products using machine learning, obviously this is restrictive for them. But secondly, for organizations, for example, who are just getting started in machine learning and AI, they have to start thinking about, you know, how do I address the black box syndrome? So how do I comply with regulations around AI if I don't actually understand what's happening inside the box?
Well, I think that's one of the things the regulators over in Brussels are going to be insisting on, that there be compliance plans filed with the EU and their regulatory board as far as what artificial intelligence is being used, what safeguards are in place, and is there a human monitoring all this? So it's going to be interesting to see how hard it's going to be to meet the EU's compliance standards. What do you think is going to happen with that?
So if you conceptually, the reason machine learning is driving so much innovation is it is taking a process that has been limited by human capacity and programmatically has expanded decision-making to encompass as much information as you can possibly use to make a decision. And what is going to be challenging then is, how do you demonstrate compliance? So we're going to have to move away from a person who is literally trying to validate what is happening. And I believe you're going to see some companies crop up who will be offering products that programmatically kind of run next to the machine learning algorithm and sort of record what it's doing. It may not yet be able to interpret how it made the decision or what was the trigger, but at least the step one is, please tell me exactly what it did to get to the answer, right? So that's the first thing. And I believe as we continue to use machine learning and RPA or various other applications of applied data science, we will gain the expertise to figure out how to comply with the regulations. But what's interesting here is we're trying to regulate something we don't fully understand yet. Right?
Well, certainly an emerging technology now. Some of the areas that, and it was a fine article in the New York Times by Adam Satariano, looking at, as you said, self-driving cars, but hiring decisions, bank lending decisions, certainly it's been automated for years in the credit card industry, scoring of school exams, law enforcement. But really, as you mentioned, the visual recognition, facial recognition seems to be at the top of the list of concerns.
Absolutely, because it has the most potential to be used in ways that that would either restrict freedoms or certainly in autocratic countries such as China, we're already seeing facial recognition being used in some cases to identify some of the unwanted indigenous populations, right? And in effect, impose a whole different set of regulations on one set of the population or one part of the population versus another. I think in that same article, they also mentioned that there are a number of cities who may have adopted facial recognition out of the gate and who have since pulled back on their use of it. I believe there was another example of a human resources machine learning software that had been already out and in production with commercial clients, where they were exposed for not actually having addressed either bias or even whether it was functionally efficient or accurate, right? So those are the sorts of questions that will come up as it relates to, what should the regulations be, and then how do we enforce them? So the only other thing that I'd really want to highlight is we should not, as practitioners, we should not make the same mistakes that we made with GDPR, which is, oh, it's just a regulation, it's happening in Europe, it probably doesn't impact us. I believe this will be pretty pervasive, and there are lessons to be learned here from the adoption of GDPR. So for those corporations who are thinking about building out data products, having a compliance plan as they're developing the product, this is the best time to ensure that you're ready, as opposed to having built these products, they're now out in the wild, and now you have to figure out how to make them compliant.
Very good. Xena Ugrinsky, who is the Chief Transformation Officer, Pilot Wave Holdings, is got a book coming out very soon, and also has a speaking opportunity coming up. Tell us about your book and the speaking opportunity you have coming up.
Sure. So the book is Business AI: Your Field Guide to the Intelligent Enterprise. That was, I wrote it because I was serving a number of clients who were trying to figure out how they might apply AI in their organizations. And I also wanted to address what is increasingly becoming clear to most consumers of, or intended consumers of AI, and that is, how do I transform my organization to be ready to use these new tools, right? Because at the end of the day, it's less about the technology itself. It's more about how do we retrain people or upskill people to be able to view AI as another tool that they use to do their jobs. So that's the book, and I will be announcing this on LinkedIn, but I will be doing a one-on-one conversation for a Brazilian organization called Start 101. What they do is they bring international expertise to the Brazil market, and I will be having a conversation with the Chief Analytics Officer of Globo, the major media company of Brazil. So I will, keep checking back on LinkedIn, and I'll be announcing that date sometime in the next 2 weeks.
A very good final thought. You co-founded a new company this year, Pilot Wave Holdings. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Pilot Wave Holdings, I co-founded that with a gentleman, Afshin Afshar, the prior Chief Data Science Officer for JP Morgan Chase, and another gentleman, Saras Christos, CEO in software. He's out of Chicago. And the investment thesis that we have is, how do we show the value of transformation through analytics and data? And we have all gone through this at scale with large multinationals and have seen how really challenging it can be. So each of us brings a perspective to the table on some of the obstacles to adoption at scale to support growth and value creation. And it's time to demonstrate what we've been talking about for years.
Very good. Well, great to hear about that, and we will look forward to hearing more as you progress. And but thanks for your analysis on the European Union's announcement this week that they've unveiled a set of regulations that they will be drafting and finalizing in the coming months and years. But something for everyone to watch. A lot of value in artificial intelligence, but also concerns about safety, bias, that result in some situations, and also making sure that you keep a human being monitoring the work being done. Xena Ugrinsky, always a pleasure, and we'll look forward to talking again very soon.
Thank you, Ken. Good to see you.
Always good to see you. And this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services. We're based in Harrison, New York. We provide insurance-based benefits to the credit card industry. And I'm in my home office in White Plains, New York. Have a great day, everyone.